Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing super well. So welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about the disappearance of 49-year-old Graciela Garcia. This is another case that you guys actually brought to my attention. I got so many tags on TikTok and on Instagram asking me to talk about the case, and Graciela's daughter Gabby has been very vocal about her mother's disappearance. She has a couple of videos on TikTok that actually went viral, so as soon as I heard about her case and started digging deeper into it, I knew that I had to talk about it and share it with you guys. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Thank you guys so much for being here and for listening to Graciela's case. I also wanted to thank you guys for showing so much love and support to the podcast. The feedback has been absolutely amazing and I'm super proud of how everything has come out. So episode 2 is now out on the disappearance of Maya Miliete. So if you guys want to see an update on that case, make sure to go check it out and let me know in the comments down below what cases you guys would want me to cover on the podcast. Now real quick, before we get into the video, I quickly want to thank today's sponsor, Care of. Thank you to Care of for sponsoring today's video. One of my goals this year has been to work on my wellness, and one way I've been doing that is by using Care of. They are a subscription supplement service that makes it easy to stick to a consistent vitamin routine. I've mentioned them on my channel before, and last time I was taking a keratin supplement for my hair, and I've honestly noticed such a difference. I chopped my hair off a couple months ago, and I get so many comments asking me how I grew out my hair so quickly, and honestly, I feel like the keratin has been working so well, so I'm definitely going to continue to take those supplements because I really want to grow my hair out for my wedding. I also have their gut check sticks, which are meant to help promote healthy digestion and to support my immune system. Those have been working really well, and I honestly love how all of these supplements are delivered right to your door. There's a cute motivational quote on each packet, and if you are someone that struggles to remember to take your supplements, don't worry, Care of has your back. They actually have this free app that will send you daily reminders to take your supplements, and they will even reward you for being consistent. You can take Care of's quiz to find out what's recommended for you by going to takecareof.com. You can use my code Jackie Flores for 50% off your first order, so make sure to go check them out by clicking the link in the description box down below. Thank you to Care of for sponsoring today's video, and with that, let's jump right into the video. Graciela Garcia was born on October 6, 1970 in Mexico. That's where her family originally is from, and they immigrated to the United States when Graciela was just a young child. The family settled down in Hermiston, Oregon, and that's pretty much where Graciela lived for the rest of her life. She studied at Umatilla High School and she went to Blue Mountain College. Her dream was to operate and own her own hair salon, so she went to school for a business degree, and I believe she also went to school for a cosmetology degree, and that's just what Graciela was passionate about. She loved doing hair, she loved working in beauty, so she was able to open up her own salon and own her own business. The name of her salon was Carrie's Beauty, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and she absolutely loved owning this business. She was very well known around the community because of her salon, and she had a lot of clients who quickly became her close friends and in some way her family. Graciela worked Monday through Saturday, and she would have Sundays off, which she would normally spend with her family, with her kids, and with her friends. Now, speaking of Graciela's family, she met her husband, who his name hasn't been publicly revealed, but he is also originally from Mexico, and the two of them were married for 17 years. Now, Graciela had 2 daughters from a previous relationship. So she had her oldest daughter, Annabelle, and then she had her second daughter, Gabby, who is the one that made the TikTok videos about her mom. So Graciela had her 2 daughters from a previous relationship, and she brought her 2 daughters into this new marriage and into this new life with her husband. Now, Graciela's husband accepted Annabelle and Gabby as if they were his own daughters. Gabby says that he was a really amazing father and that she honestly considers him her real dad. A couple of years into their marriage, Graciela and her husband had 2 more children. They had 2 sons who were named Arturo and Jacob. Now, Jacob was the youngest in the family. He was 14 at the time of Graciela's disappearance, so all the other siblings were already old enough and were living on their own. However, since Jacob was just a teenager, Graciela did share custody of Jacob with her ex-husband. So some nights Jacob would go stay with his mom, and the other nights he would go stay with his dad. Even though Annabelle, Gabby, and Arturo didn't live with Graciela anymore, they would still keep in constant contact with their mom. They all had a very close relationship, so they would often speak on the phone together, they would keep up through iMessage, they would talk on Facebook. I mean, they were all just such a close-knit family. One thing the family did often was traveling. Graciela absolutely loved to travel, and one of her favorite places to go to was Mexico. And she would often have to travel a lot for her business, so she would often go to, seminars about, owning a hair salon or, things like that. And anytime she was able to take her children with her, she would. Together, the family went to California, they went to go visit Washington, and at one point, they all even went back to Mexico to go see where their father grew up. Everyone says that Graciela was the type of person that would always remain positive even in the face of adversity. Now, going back to her relationship, she was married to her husband for 17 years. However, they did decide to get a divorce, and like I mentioned, they continued to remain in contact and had custody of Jacob. After the divorce, Graciela met a man named Cuauhtemoc Romero Sanchez. According to a comment Gabby made on TikTok, Graciela met Romero through her salon. He was actually a client of hers, and he would go there to get his hair done, and they soon started talking, becoming friends, and it eventually turned into a relationship. They had been dating for about 6 years, and at the time of her disappearance, she had been married to Romero for about 3 years. Now, Gabby says that she didn't really know much about this guy. She kind of got like a weird vibe from him. She did want to speak to him and get to know him because he was her mother's new husband. So of course she wanted to see if, she could make some type of relationship with her new stepfather. But Gabby says that there was just something off about him. Like, it was very hard to talk to him. It seemed like he didn't really care to kind of bond with Gabby or with the other children. And I feel like when your family knows that something is off, something is most likely off. Gabby says she just did not like this man, and it was to the point where she didn't even consider him a stepfather. She never saw him as another father figure in her life, and she just kind of saw him as her mom's new husband. So Graciela and Romero got married, and the two of them lived in a house on Herbert Avenue in Hermiston, and this is a house that Graciela actually owned herself. Now, at first, things seemed to be going well, but as the relationship progressed, the family and friends of Graciela started to notice that Romero really wasn't the best partner. She would often complain to her friends and family that she just felt suffocated and that he was very controlling. He would follow her around to see where she was going, who she was talking to, what she was doing. He would try to go through her phone, and he just always wanted to know what she was doing. She just felt suffocated. She felt like she couldn't be on her phone. She felt like she couldn't go out with her friends because he would follow her and make a big deal out of it. One time, Graciela texted her daughter Gabby and asked her, "Can you come pick me up?" And Gabby wasn't home at the time, so she wasn't able to go hang out with her mother, but she asked her, is everything okay? Like, what's going on? And her mother said, "It's fine. I just wanted to get out of the house for a bit. I wanted to hang out with you." And Gabby kept pressing her mother, "Why do you need to leave?" And she just said that she couldn't deal with Romero anymore and that she wanted Gabby to pick her up so Romero would see that she was going out with her daughter and wouldn't follow her. Gabby says she often looks back at this moment and she regrets not going to pick up her mother because she feels like if she would have gotten her, maybe her mother would have told her that something more serious was going on, or maybe would have opened up to her about what was actually going on in the relationship. Now, Gabby was not the only one that noticed that things between Graciela and Romero were not good. Again, none of the kids really liked him. Graciela's brothers and sisters didn't like him, and a couple of friends and clients also noticed that things just weren't right. A handful of clients came forward and said that when they would go to the salon to get their hair done, most of the time Romero would be there and he would just be sitting there watching Graciela work. Now, Graciela opened up her hair salon in February of 2006, and she was at this location for about 13 years. However, in 2018, she decided to move the salon into her home. Now, looking back at it, the family wonders if this was actually Graciela's decision or if Romero was the one that decided to do this. I mean, he was always watching her and wanting to know what she was doing. So maybe he was the one that suggested she move the business inside the house. That way he would always know where she was and she would never really have a reason to leave the house. The family doesn't know if this was actually his idea or if it was actually Graciela's idea, but they did say that she was excited about this new change. She was excited about being closer to the house. That way she could be closer to her son, Jacob, and she could also be closer to her dog, which she really loved. They say she saw this as a new chapter in her life and as a fresh start for her business. So towards the end of 2018, Graciela and Romero worked on remodeling one of the rooms inside the house and converting it into a salon. It took a couple of months, but in May of 2019, the construction was finally done and the salon was opened once again. She started getting new clients and business was doing well. Now, although Graciela was thriving in her professional life, things between her and her husband were still not good. About 3 to 4 months before Graciela's disappearance, her daughter Gabby, who was 25 years old at the time, was hanging out with her mother. They were just having a normal day when all of a sudden Graciela told her, "Gabby, I need to talk to you about something. I need you to know this." And she said this in a very serious tone. Gabby started to get nervous because her mom sounded almost afraid of what she was about to say. Her mom told her, "Look, I want to show you these papers. These are the 401k papers and I want you to know where they are just in case something happens to me and you need to claim this money." Gabby immediately started telling her mom to stop talking about this because it was scaring her. She didn't want to think about something happening to her mom and she didn't understand why her mom was telling her this. She started asking her mom, "Why are you telling me this? Is everything okay?" And her mom just kind of stayed quiet and said, "No, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. I just want to let you know where these papers are and where this money is just in case something happens to me. You never know what may happen and I don't want Romero to claim any of my money, so I just want to make sure that you and your siblings know where this is." Gabby says she immediately started crying and went to go hug her mom and told her to never bring this up again. Looking back at this, she often wonders, did her mom know that something bad was going to happen to her? Or, why was she bringing this up? So now let's fast forward to the day of Graciela's disappearance. On November 8th, 2019, 49-year-old Graciela Garcia had plans to bring food to her 14-year-old son who was staying at his father's house. Remember, Graciela and her ex-husband shared custody of Jacob, so he would split his time between his mom's house and his dad's house. On this particular night, he was going to be spending the night at his father's house, and Graciela had told him that she would stop by later that night to bring him some dinner. And this was something that she often did. She loved visiting her son. She loved taking care of him. So anytime he was staying at his dad's house, she would often stop by just to give him dinner and say hello. So that night, Graciela was supposed to stop by, but she never did. Instead of Graciela showing up to deliver the food, Romero showed up. Now, this was a little bit weird because, like I mentioned, she was the one that would always deliver the food and she would often come alone. However, if she did come with Romero, he would just sit in the car and wait for Graciela to deliver the food and then they would leave. So the fact that he was showing up by himself and was actually delivering the food face to face was very weird. So Jacob opens the door and he asks Romero, "Where is my mom? Why isn't she delivering the food?" And he said that his mom was back home and that she had fallen asleep. He handed Jacob his food, walked back to his car, and then drove away. Now again, Jacob did think this was a little bit weird, but he didn't think that anything sinister had happened to his mom. I mean, he really had no reason to believe that Romero would lie to him. So he went back inside the house, and when he looked at his phone, that's when he realized that he had 2 missed calls and a text message from his mom at around 7 p.m. He immediately sent a text message back to his mom, but received no response. He then started calling his mom, but all of the calls went straight to voicemail. This was also odd because Graciela always had her phone on her. She always made sure that her phone was charged and she always kept in constant contact with her family. So the fact that she wasn't answering the phone and all of the calls were going straight to voicemail seemed very odd. It either meant that her phone was dead or that someone had turned it off. He contacted some of his older siblings and told them that mom had never showed up to give him the food and that she wasn't answering any of his phone calls. Now the next day, Gabby's older sister, Annabelle, called Gabby and asked her, "Have you spoken to mom?" Gabby said, "No, I haven't." And she said, "Well, something weird is going on. She didn't show up to give Jacob the dinner last night and she isn't answering any of our phone calls or our messages." Gabby immediately knew that this was a red flag, so she started calling her mom to see if maybe she would pick up the phone for her, but she never did. She started texting her mom asking her what was going on, but again, it was just complete silence. Now the timeline for what happened next is a little bit confusing because I'm not sure if it was a day after November 8th or on November 10th, but between one of those days, Romero went to Annabelle's house and he showed up on her doorstep crying. Annabelle opened the door and Romero started telling her, "Your mom is missing." He says that they all went to bed together on November 8th after delivering the food to Jacob, and the next morning on November 9th, he woke up and she was gone. He said that she wasn't answering any of his phone calls or his messages. He also said that she had been acting weird the past few days and that he just didn't know what was going on with her. He didn't know if she had left him for another man or if she left him to be alone or if she was even happy in their marriage. I mean, this guy was kind of like word vomiting, and Annabelle was looking at him, standing there crying, and she just felt like it wasn't genuine. She felt like those weren't real tears, and she just knew that something bad had happened. As soon as Annabelle and the rest of the siblings realized that something had happened to their mother, they immediately drove to her house and began looking for answers. When they got there, they realized that Graciela's car was still parked outside. So if she did leave, it wasn't in her own car. When they walked inside the house, they realized that everything kind of seemed a little bit too in place. Like nothing was messy, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. It just seemed like everything was a little bit too organized. They realized that all of Graciela's clothes, her shoes, her makeup, her accessories, pretty much all of her items were still at the house. Her purses were there, so it just seemed a little bit weird to the family because they say that anytime Graciela gets ready to go out, she normally makes a mess. Like there's clothes everywhere, there's makeup all over the place, her jewelry is a mess, so the fact that everything looked so tidy just really stood out to them. They continued looking around the house, and that's when Gabby found a heavy blanket inside the washing machine. Now this was a big heavy blanket and it was soaked in water. Gabby looked at this blanket and she knew that this was odd. When she lived with her mother, Graciela would tell her to never do a heavy load. She didn't want the kids washing blankets, she didn't want them washing jackets because she felt like if you put too much stuff in there, then the washing machine would break. So seeing this big blanket inside the washing machine really stood out to Gabby, and she just knew that her mom would have never done this. Another thing the family noticed is that the only items missing in the house were Graciela's ID, her passport, and her phone. That was it. After going through her house and not being able to get in contact with her for 3 days, the family decided to report Graciela as missing on November 11th, 2019. As soon as police heard about Graciela's disappearance, they immediately opened an investigation and from the start believed that her disappearance was suspicious. Now, the family was a little frustrated because they didn't understand why Romero didn't report his own wife as missing. If the last time he saw her was on November 8th when they went to bed, and then the next morning on November 9th he realized that she was gone, why didn't he report her as missing that same day? The family actually confronted him about this, and he just kind of explained, oh, I thought she just wanted to be alone. I thought she went to go be with another man. Like, I just didn't think anything bad had happened. In fact, he actually got annoyed at the fact that the family had called the police. He confronted the family and was like, why did you do this? Why didn't you tell me you were calling the police? And the family was like, well, it was kind of obvious we were going to call the police. I mean, our mother is missing. What did you think we were going to do? And Gabby says that from that moment when they called the police and reported their mother as missing, Romero started to distance himself from the family and from the kids. Going back to the investigation, police wanted to look into Graciela's phone records to see if they could see where her phone would last ping. Her phone records indicated that her phone pinged at 12:30 a.m. in Washington on November 9th, the night that she vanished. After that, her phone was disconnected. They also started monitoring her bank accounts and her social media platforms to see if there would be any type of activity on there, but there was none. They also checked frequent locations where Graciela would often go to, and they checked the house, and they did what they could to find evidence, but there really wasn't that much to go off of. At first, the police were very helpful and they were very active in the investigation. Every single week, they would call Graciela's family to give them an update about what was happening with their mom's case, but as time progressed, the police started calling the family less and less. It got to the point where Gabby and her siblings were the ones that had to call the police and ask them, what's going on with my mom's disappearance? Like, is there any updates? Did you find any new information? Because the police just wouldn't talk to them. Now, the Hermiston Police Department did come out with a statement, and they said that they were actively investigating Graciela's case and that they were doing whatever they could to discover what had happened to her. They said that they did reach out to the Oregon State Police Department for additional resources, which included additional detectives, and that they also consulted with the FBI regarding technical assistance with certain evidence that they had uncovered, and they say that those resources are still available to them if they need them. But besides that, that's pretty much it. There really hasn't been that much discovered in the investigation, and the family was starting to feel frustrated because they felt like their mother's case was going nowhere. One thing that really bothered Gabby is the fact that police never investigated the blanket. She told police about the blanket and about how it seemed suspicious to her, but they just told her that it didn't really seem like it would have any type of evidence on it and that it wasn't really that big of a deal. So they actually never took the blanket, they never checked it for any type of forensics, nothing. Gabby says this was so frustrating to her because even if there was no evidence on that blanket, she still wanted police to check it just in case. She doesn't understand why police just wouldn't take the blanket to investigate, and she just often wonders, what was actually on that blanket and why was it in the washing machine? 4 months would go by without any serious movement in the case. At this point, Graciela's family continued to search for her, they continued to spread awareness, and they honestly felt like she was still alive, but they did feel like maybe she had been kidnapped. Either someone kidnapped her while she was leaving the house, or something sinister happened to her, but they were still holding on to hope that she was alive and would be found safe. The family would hold vigils, they would hold rallies, they would walk around the community with t-shirts that had Graciela's face on it, they would pass out flyers. I mean, they were very vocal about her disappearance, and they just wanted the community to come together and help find her. There was a Facebook page created called Find Graciela Garcia, there was a Twitter created, an Instagram, and a TikTok dedicated to finding Graciela. Now, Graciela's daughter, Gabby, who I mentioned throughout the video, is the one that went viral on TikTok. I will link her TikTok down below so you guys can check it out and see what she has to say about her mother's disappearance, but she has been very vocal about what happened to her mother, and like I've mentioned before, I feel like TikTok is a great way to reach people and a great way to spread awareness. So she is doing an amazing job at advocating for her mother, so I highly recommend you guys go check out her TikTok. I actually reached out to her through TikTok and asked her if it was okay that I made this video, and she said that of course, like anything is helpful, a YouTube video, a TikTok, anything. So if you guys can also join in and help spread awareness on Graciela's case, whether that's sharing her flyer on Instagram or on Twitter, that would be amazing. Gabby went on the Murder in the Rain podcast to talk about her mother's disappearance, so I will also link that down below so you guys can check it out. At the end of the day, the family truly feels like Romero, Graciela's husband, knows more than he's letting on. Of course, the police did investigate Romero because, as most criminal investigations go, police often look at the people closest to the victim, which in this case is Graciela's husband. So police say that they did speak to him and that he has been very cooperative throughout the investigation. He consented to a search of his house, he provided a DNA sample, and he took 3 polygraph tests. So police say that he has been very helpful in the investigation and very cooperative, but the family still feels like there is something there. It's just odd to them that he never went to any search parties, he's never done any interviews talking about his wife's disappearance. I mean, it honestly just seems like he doesn't really care that his wife is missing. Chief Ediston of the Hermiston Police Department said that they didn't compel Romero to do any of these things. He willingly gave up his DNA, he willingly did these polygraph tests, so they just want people to know that they didn't force him to do any of this and that he was just, trying to be helpful and cooperative. I did read some statements that said that the day after Graciela disappeared on November 9th, Romero's phone was off the entire day. However, I don't know how accurate that statement is. Another thing that I wasn't able to confirm through the police is the results of Romero's polygraph test. Gabby has said on some of her videos that the test came back as inconclusive, but I wasn't able to find any police statement confirming that. Not saying that Gabby is lying, but I did just want to put that out there. Even though police say that Romero has been cooperative, the family still feels like he had something to do with Graciela's disappearance. She would never leave her son, she would never leave her children, she would never leave her business that she loved so much. She actually had some hair appointments the next day and she just never showed up to them, which is something that Graciela would never do. Again, she loved her business, like this was everything to her, so she would just never abandon her clients and abandon everything. They just know that she did not willingly disappear. Now, a couple of Graciela's clients did come forward and they wanted to remain anonymous, but they wanted to get this information out to Gabby's family just in case it could help. One person told Gabby that her husband was one of Graciela's last clients before she disappeared, and that when he was at the salon getting his hair done, he noticed that Graciela was acting weird and that something just seemed off. Another friend came forward and said that a few days before her disappearance, Graciela had called her crying, saying she didn't know what to do about her husband. As of now, foul play is suspected in the disappearance of Graciela Garcia, and the investigation into her disappearance is currently ongoing and active. There is a GoFundMe open called Missing Graciela Garcia, and the goal is to reach $20,000 so that the family is able to hire a private investigator to help with the investigation, and they also plan to use that money to hire a lawyer. As of now, I believe the family has raised a little bit over $3,000, so I will link the donation page down below if you guys want to make a donation. If you're not able to make a donation, don't worry, you can help by just spreading awareness by sharing her flyer and sharing Gabby's TikToks. There also is a petition on change.org called Demanding Justice for Our Missing Mother, and their goal is to reach 7,500 signatures. Right now, I believe they have 5,000 signatures, so they're almost there, and I will also link that down below. The goal for the petition is for the family to get more answers, and they just really want to get some new detectives to look at the case with some fresh eyes. They just feel like the detectives now aren't really doing the best that they can to find out what happened to their mother. So again, all of that information will be linked down below. Now, the Hermiston Police Department is aware of this GoFundMe to, raise funds to hire a private investigator. And in regards to that, Chief Hermiston said that he is aware of these fundraisers, and he says that members of the public wishing to donate should know that the money will in no way benefit the Hermiston Police Department or the partner agencies assisting us. He says he understands the frustration felt by members of the community over the long investigation, and just like everyone else and the family, they also want answers as to what happened to Graciela Garcia. He says that the case will remain open until they get an answer. The family wants people to remember that Graciela is a mother. She's a sister, a daughter, a grandmother, an aunt, and a friend to a lot of people. They say it's devastating not knowing where she is and not getting any answers, and they just feel so lost. On TikTok, Gabby says, "Imagine if this was your mother. Imagine if you just woke up one day and your mother was gone. You never got to say goodbye and you just have no idea what happened to her." She wants people to understand how frustrating this is, and she does get a little bit of hate on TikTok of people saying, "Oh, let the police do their job, don't be rude to them." But she tells them, imagine if this was your mom. Wouldn't you be annoyed if years had passed by without any answers? Graciela disappeared in 2019, and to this day in 2023, there have been no answers as to what happened to her. Gabby wants people to continue to share her mother's case and to not let the case go cold. That is the last thing that they want, so she's asking people to, share her flyer, share her story, and if you do post anything regarding to Graciela's case, you guys can use the hashtag #FindGracielaGarcia or #JusticeForGracielaGarcia. Here's a description of Graciela Garcia. She is a Hispanic female with brown hair, brown eyes, between 5'3" and 5'4", and weighed about 125 to 140 pounds. At the time of her disappearance, she did have blonde hair, so if you know anything about what happened to Graciela Garcia, please contact the Hermiston Police Department at 541-567-5519. I want to end the video by reading you guys a quote from Gabby, and she said this in Spanish, so I'll translate towards the end. She said, "Yo sé que quizás nunca te vuelva a ver en esta vida. Yo sé que darte justicia quizás nunca se dé por la ley que tenemos. Pero también sé que Dios ve todo. Él sabe qué te pasó, quién te hizo daño y dónde estás. Y también sé que la verdad siempre sale a la luz." Which means, I know I might not see you again. I know I might not be able to give you justice because of the law, but I also know that God sees everything. He knows what happened to you, who hurt you, and I also know that the truth always comes to light. And with that, that is all we know about what happened to Graciela Garcia. I will keep you guys updated on what goes on in the investigation, and if there are ever any movements or, serious updates in the case, I will let you guys know by putting it in a comment down below. My thoughts and prayers go out to Graciela's family. I am so sorry that this happened to your mother. It's not fair that years have gone by without any answers, and you guys deserve to know what happened to your mother, so I will continue praying for you guys, and I just truly hope that she is found and that you all get closure soon. But alright, thank you guys for being here and for listening to Graciela's story. Here's today's Familia feature, so thank you guys so much for being a part of La Familia, and if you guys want to be the next feature, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and leave a comment down below. Don't forget to check out episode 1 and 2 of the podcast, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys!